one and all, and welcome to Hyrule Academy. This is a Zelda lore and theory podcast, back again after nearly 5 years off the air. Can you believe it, everyone? We are here tonight for a wonderful show where we will be talking all about the fierce final boss from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's Calamity Ganon. It's going to be a wonderful show. This is a wonderful show for everybody at home as well, because you all are going to be able to participate and join the discussion live in the chat room on twitch.tv/Zeldathon. Now, I'm MC, your host and instructor here at Hyrule Academy, but I gotta admit a few things. 5 years since we've had this podcast, I may be a little bit rusty, so I'm counting on all of you to keep me on my toes and make sure that this old professor isn't going a little senile with his Zelda lores and theories today. It's gonna be a wonderful show. We have a special guest that'll be joining us here in just a little bit. That's Captain Trina, one of the all-star pupils and promoted to professor here at Hyrule Academy. She'll be joining us here right after our first break. So thank you all for being here. Welcome, Relius, Laylight, Twister. I see lots of people in the chat. Orange, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's exciting to be here. At the start of the show, you heard two songs. You heard Breath of the Wild from the Sins of Hyrule album. That's by Revan. And the next song was Calamity Ganon Battle by String Player Gamer. So thank you very much to both Revan and String Player Gamer for their contributions to the Zelda music world, which I am obviously a huge fan of. Anyways, today, folks, we will be talking about Calamity Ganon. Now, it's time for the brief. The first part of our show is called the brief, or the lore itself. This is where I give you all the background information. This is the concrete info that we've been blessed with by the almighty Nintendo developers. We as Zelda lore theorists have to fill in a lot of gaps and a lot of stuff, which is why we have this podcast, so we can talk about it, because we can do that ourselves. The Ganon canon, as is being said in the chat. Thank you for that. So Calamity Ganon is part of the story of Breath of the Wild. That takes place at the end of the timeline. Which timeline? We don't know that. It's your guess. I personally subscribe to the theory that it's after the adventure of Link. I feel like it fits really well there, for reasons we might actually bring up in today's show. But that is only conjecture. So 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild, by the way, 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild is still after the end of any of these timelines. So even if the adventure of Link ended, there's still 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild would happen in my theory. So 10,000 years beforehand, Calamity Ganon rolls up on the land. He is a amalgamation, a cloud of evil, malice, and hatred. And to stop him, the Sheikah built the Guardians, which are these mechanical, I don't call them monsters. Mechanical, what's a good word for them? Mechanical robots. Mechanical robots that can traverse the land with their spindly legs and do some zappy. And those were invented to stop Ganon. And also they invented the divine beasts. And with that power, they sealed him beneath Hyrule Castle. Take that, Ganon. Automations, or automatons. There we go. Mechanical automatons. Thank you for the chat once again for helping me with my words, which I'm definitely going to need. So, that's 10,000 years ago. What happens 100 years ago? 100 years ago, Ganon is warned to be coming back. He's going to be back. And so the royal family determines that they need 4 champions to pilot the divine beasts. They find Zelda, the princess who has the ability to seal with her sacred power, and they also find Link. Link is some dude with a sword. He's supposed to be the hero, and he's actually pretty good at his job. Zelda, she has to work on it a little bit, and their job is to reseal Ganon. So Zelda's like, I got this. I gotta go awaken my sealing power. She goes around Hyrule praying in fountains and wanting to play with robots, but her dad's like, no, don't play with the robots. Please pray in fountains. But it doesn't work out because Ganon breaks free before she has her sealing power, which may or may not be the Triforce. And Gannon has an ace up his sleeve this time. He realizes last time he was defeated by Guardians and Divine Beasts, so he takes control of the Guardians and the Divine Beasts. The champions are defeated. You know, that's the nice word. They were killed. The champions were killed by Ganon. And Ganon took control of the Divine Beasts, and things aren't going good for Hyrule. Zelda awakens her power at the last second after Link is defeated. I'm sorry, Link is incapacitated. He's not killed. Link's okay. He's almost killed. But Zelda awakens her power at the last second. Thank goodness. She didn't even need a spring. She didn't even need a fountain bath. She just needed to see Link almost die. And so Zelda decides, I will hold off Calamity Ganon for a century. Because I guess she can do that. And she does. So for a century, Link takes a nice little nap in a regenerative pod, wakes up, and he says, hey, Calamity Ganon, I'm back. And so he finds Calamity Ganon in Hyrule Castle Sanctum, attempting to regenerate into a physical form. He's in like this big cocoon thing. It's kind of disgusting. But, you know, Ganon's not pretty, everybody. Ganon takes a physical form, not quite the one he was probably going for, and battles Link, but he loses. He then transforms into the Dark Beast Ganon, which is kind of just gooey pig monster, but is defeated ultimately by Link with the Bow of Light. And that's where we're at. So that, my friends, is the lore so far. That's what we know about Calamity Ganon. Obviously, there's more to come in his story, it sounds like, with the sequel to Breath of the Wild. But we're not quite there. We kind of don't quite know what's going on with Calamity Ganon. And so it's time for us to fill in the gaps a little bit and maybe do a little bit of theorizing. Everybody in the chat, this is your chance to shine. I'm going to ask you some questions to start the conversation, but I encourage you all in the chat to start sharing your theories on Calamity Ganon and how he might even be involved in other parts of the timeline before Breath of the Wild. So here's some questions to help get you started. What is the true form of Calamity Ganon? We know he tries to regenerate. We know he's a cloud. We know he's malice. We know he infects things. What is the true form of Calamity Ganon? So when we say Calamity Ganon, what does Calamity Ganon think he is? Next question. Why did Ganon reincarnate into this form, into Calamity Ganon, and not straight to human? Is he not able to anymore? That's for you to answer in the chat. And last question I have is, could Calamity Ganon be present in other places in the timeline that I haven't discussed yet, the lore? Could Calamity Ganon be hanging out with regular Ganon? Could Calamity Ganon be in Hytopia? I don't know. That's for you to decide and tell me in the chat. Everybody, please start your theorizing over in the chat. I will be paying attention there. And later on the show, your theories will be shared live on air. But we're going to be back in just a moment. For right now, I got some wonderful music for you. Please enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to Hyrule Academy. It's me, MC. I hope you enjoyed that last song. That was Ganondorf Battle Orchestral Arrangement from The Noble Demon, everyone. I decided a little bit of classic Ganondorf would be welcome in our music playlist for tonight. I already see the chat is popping off with lots of discussion, so I'm very excited to see that after all this time, we're still back working hard. So thank you for that. So now it's a great time to introduce our guest for today. Everyone, please welcome to the show, Captain Trina.
What's up, everyone?
Hi, Trina. How are you today?
I'm good. It's weird sitting on this side of the classroom.
Yeah, did we have you as a guest during the actual show before?
No,
we never did.
Some people have convinced themselves that I was, and it's just like, this is a what's that Mandela effect?
I convinced myself you were on this side of the show with me at some point too. We've been talking about reviving this show for probably 3 of the 5 years it's been off air, right?
Yeah, no, that sounds right.
But guess what? We're here. We're live right now with Hyrule Academy. Can you believe it?
It's happening.
And we're, by the way, for everybody at home who doesn't know, we're going to be releasing this podcast starting with once a month. I am open to the idea of increasing the frequency because we used to be a weekly show, but we're going to start with once a month, and we'll feel it out, everybody. We'll feel it out. So Trina, why don't you talk to me about your experience as a Zelda lore theorist? How long have you been? Would you consider yourself a Zelda lore nut?
When was the first episode of Hyrule Academy?
That's a good question. That I don't know.
I actually know. I say that, but it was April of 2014. But no, like I did. I just happened to be a Radio Hyrule or a listener, and it was like, oh, we're doing the show. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. But like, I don't think I even knew about the split timeline theory before I started doing Hyrule Academy. So no, this is something that really y'all got me into.
Interesting.
The community aspect of friendly arguing.
See, and I like, I'm really glad that's how you got into the Zelda theory world, because this show is a great way to do it, because we don't frown on silly theories. I don't remember some of the craziest ones. I know we had a lot of discussions about Telma in the past.
My favorite was Mrs. Marie is a serial killer, and that's where the re-deads in her basement came from.
Yes. That's my favorite Wind Waker theory. Mrs. Marie is a serial killer. So in case you're wondering where we're going to go with these shows, it starts out with us being like, Calamity Ganon, once upon a time, 10,000 years ago. And it might end with Calamity Ganon as a popsicle. We don't know. We don't know.
You already brought up Hytopia. We have to talk about what kind of dress Calamity Ganon could wear if he had a body at some point.
Oh yeah, that was being brought up in the chat as well, about perhaps Calamity Ganon did try to go to Hytopia, but he just didn't have the right outfits. I believe Tylenos brought that up. So when did you play Breath of the Wild for the first time? Because this is a central part of our discussion for today.
Right. Yeah. No, I didn't play it immediately after it released, because it released like 3 weeks before my wedding. So I was a little busy.
Yeah.
I was a little busy. So yeah, no, I played it within a month or two. I never actually beat it. Like, I got all the shrines. I was not going to get all the seeds. I was going to try to get enough for all the upgrades, but then didn't actually want to go look at things. So, I mean, I've seen the ending. I just didn't get the ending myself. I got most of the way there, though.
I mean, that's fine. I think a popular thing, especially when people come into this show for the first time, is they're intimidated by, oh boy, these people played every Zelda game. They've 100%ed it. No. I know I'm a welcome exception to this rule, but we encourage people who've just played a few Zelda games to get involved, because I think that gives a little bit more room for creativity as well. And you, talking about how you've seen the ending and stuff, I think that's a very valuable way to still experience stories in the timeline, because I will reference like long plays frequently when I'm thinking about something. It's a great resource to be able to look up a video of other people playing a game. Oh
yeah.
So what did you think of Breath of the Wild? Are you a Breath of the Wild lover or a Breath of the Wild hater?
I wouldn't say either. Like, okay. I always appreciate when they try new stuff. Like, we went to got Majora's Mask, they weren't trying to do stuff, and that's my second favorite. So more part of them for trying stuff. I think I just wanted to be rewarded more for exploring random places. Like, even though there were 120 shrines and 900 Korok seeds, I still felt like I was like wandering around in places or like there's nothing here to see. Give me a more full world. I know that it just got like wrecked by a big thing 100 years ago, and it's post-apocalyptic, and I can't really expect a lot of civilization, but I wanted a little bit more to do, if that makes sense.
That's fair. No, it's any criticism is always is always valid unless you say that it's not a Zelda game, in which case people say that, and I don't know how to respond, and I'm not going to do so on this Lore and Theory podcast. I'll do that on the SuperMCGamer rant stream for 2 hours. It'll be a much longer episode. So what do you think about Calamity Ganon both as a villain, as a boss, as a concept? What are your thoughts on this? What did I say? Amalgamation? I didn't say it right. Amalgamation, whatever I said.
Misty thing. So I feel like my favorite Ganon/Ganondorfs in the past have been the ones we've seen more in their human forms, where like, yeah. I mean, Wind Waker, certainly you get some aspect into like, oh, he has actual motivations that are more detailed than I am evil and I'm going to wreck everything.
Yeah.
It does make for interesting like world building, I think. Just it does have a more outstretched reach than a lot of our past ones have had, where like, I mean, maybe I'm thinking more of Age of Calamity, but just like, you're just walking along and your little robot friend suddenly has turned evil because he can do that, and you're just like, nowhere is safe.
Yeah, and you mentioned that because I think of Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time, where we have a 7-year time skip in the story, and it's like the world has changed a little bit. It's like Ganon has taken over and done all these bad things, and it kind of feels that way, like especially because Castle Town's destroyed, but like for the most part, it doesn't feel hugely different. While in this game, I feel like the effects of Calamity Ganon are more present and widespread.
Right. Ganondorf from Ocarina was still like one dude who like, had people who worked under him, but like they could still only be in one place at one time.
Right. Exactly. Did you fight Calamity Ganon as a boss at any time?
No, I didn't even. Going to Hyrule Castle is what I kept putting off. I did all the individual beasts, but I had not actually tried to do that fight.
Right. So as for the malice that it's considered to be kind of like part of Calamity Ganon, do you think that there's more to that there? Do you think we've seen like Calamity Ganon in the past before Breath of the Wild, or is this just something that all Ganons can do? Do you have any theories in that area?
I was trying to figure out like, why is this Ganon so much more powerful than like past iterations, and like maybe part of it was just like marinating in evil power for 10,000 years. But I feel like in trying to figure out why he's different, I've sat down and I'm like, okay, what part of this creature, where do you draw the line between Ganon versus Ganondorf, first of all, and then where do you draw the line between Ganon and like the malice power? Because I think drawing those lines will help us figure out some other stuff, and it's so hard to tell, like especially like the people you talk to I feel like give you mixed answers. I have the text up, which is what I usually do for these shows, and just out of curiosity, I searched Calamity, I searched Ganon, and I searched them together. And like people in the world use Calamity Ganon and Ganon interchangeably, first of all, but then Calamity sometimes means Ganon, and sometimes it's like the event itself. Sometimes it's like most people refer to any of those as it, with the exception of Zelda, the King, and I think Daruk use him. So like,
interesting. So
there is some evidence that like they at least still think of the mind of Ganondorf is still active in this, which is interesting because that's not the direction. Well, maybe a little bit more with the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, but like aside from that, I would have been like, this is just like raw demise power. Like I wouldn't have even. You're just used to calling it Ganon because that's what it's always been. It's like calling all tissues Kleenex, even though they're not. Like.
That's a great way of putting it. And you brought up Demise from Skyward Sword, who is like the source of the curse that will eternally revive evil in Hyrule and plague Link and Zelda. And I find that really exciting to talk about because the question is, does Demise revive Ganon, or does Demise revive Malice? And is it Mouse that takes the form of Ganon, or does Ganon take the form of Malice?
It's chicken and the egg, man.
Yeah, it's chicken and the egg, and it's like, which came first, the pig or the goop? I don't know. Either way, it sounds like we need a clean. And I think there's a lot to discuss here. I think there's a lot of interesting parts of this. Do you have any feelings about if Calamity Ganon is in other parts of the timeline?
I don't know that he is, like, in the sense... I mean, again, what do you mean by Calamity Ganon? But yeah, I don't think, like, I feel like the closest thing we see is it, okay, when I say Malice, I mean Mallus from Skyward. That was his name, right? Which I know isn't Ganon, but, like, that was the closest form we had to Calamity Ganon here. So I don't know what to make of that.
Interesting. Huh. We're having quite a this is a circular episode, isn't it? It really is, where we don't really know where it starts. And I think that's going to be important for the chat to continue to talk about. And I think now would be a good time to turn it over to the chat and play another song. Do you think that'd be okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, cool. So everybody, we'll be right back with more Hyrule Academy. Welcome back, everyone, to Hyrule Academy. I hope you enjoyed that last song. That was Guardian Battle by Shady Cicada, a wonderful artist over on YouTube who does a lot of really exciting videos, a lot of experimental, like, make your own music type of videos. I really enjoy Shady Cicada's channel. Trina, have you experienced much Shady Cicada in your life?
Not yet. The 14-year cicadas are supposed to come out in the next couple weeks in Indiana, so I will be seeing plenty of them here in a second.
Plenty of real cicadas. You should check out Shady Cicada's channel. There's lots of really fun videos. So everybody, it's time for a very exciting part of Hyrule Academy that some of you may have forgot existed. And that, my friends, is the pop quiz. Everybody in the chat, how the pop quiz works is I will ask you a question. The first person to give me the correct answer gets a point. There's only 3 questions and there's only 3 points, but I keep track of them between episodes. At least I used to. I don't know where we stand in terms of 5 years ago, but I'm sure I could add them up if I found my old document.
I'm disqualified forever now.
Well, you're disqualified for this episode because you can see the answers.
Well, okay, there's that.
And we can discuss the questions a little bit afterwards as well, just in brief. So the first thing we need to do is give you all the question. And for this first one, spelling counts, because I'm evil.
Oh, you're mean.
Yeah. All right, everybody, chat. In Breath of the Wild, we meet a new king of Hyrule. What's his full name?
I don't even remember how to pronounce it without looking it up.
The question is it faster to type it correctly or to Google and copy paste? We're gonna see who the copy pasters are. Oh, look at Dark. Let me confirm that. Bosphoramus. That's correct. Dark, I don't know if you copy pasted or if you're amazing, but Dark is gonna get the point for that one. That is King Roam Bosphoramus Hyrule.
Honorable mention to Orange Man for actually trying to type it out.
Yes, Roam Bosphoramus Hyrule. Amazing. Of course, it seems like there's a history, Trina, of kings of Hyrule having excessively complex names.
It wasn't that bad of a middle name.
Daphne No Hansen Hyrule.
Yeah, I know how to spell that.
Yeah, and then we've had Gustav, we've had What was the name of the Minish Cap one was Gustav, right? Or
well, there was the dead one.
The dead
I think
one,
the dead one was Gustav, and I'm blanking on the Living King's name.
See, that's the 5 years right there.
I know. And then there's the non-canonical one, but the
Harkinian?
TV series? Yes.
King Harkinian? I love King Harkinian. All right, chat. Next question here. In what town can Link get his Sheikah slate completed / fixed? I'm seeing if I can trick anybody. It looks like Orange Man got me. It is Hateno. I will accept just Hateno, not just Hateno Village. So I'm going to write that down. I was wondering if I was going to trick anybody and get anybody to say, like, Akala or something. But no, everybody got that one. Hateno is one of my favorite new villages. It's one that I hope comes back in future games, like beyond the sequel. Did you get to spend much time in Hateno, Trina?
Yes, I remember the dye shop was there, but otherwise, like, my brain, I feel like it's been long enough that my brain is like combining all three of the main like Sheikah places. But no, I like there being actually like more than one place that people live.
Yeah, and it's where Link's house is, where you can build it up a little bit, and it's also just like it's settled into a nice area of Hyrule that we usually it felt more like Kakariko than Kakariko did in ways.
I was almost gonna say that. I don't know why that is. They do mention, like, the people you talk to there are very clear, like, they were hit less by the Calamity, which maybe just distance from Castle Town, but maybe that gives us more of a glimpse of what the 300 years ago Hyrule was looking like.
Ooh, very good. Speaking of Kakariko, chat, last question. In Kakariko Village, in Breath of the Wild this is, a girl tasks Link with catching 5 of these glowing insects. If you answer in Jeopardy format, you win. You get 1 extra fake point. Fireflies is not enough. I need the full name, Dark. I need the proper name. What is Fireflies? Nope. I need the proper name. I need the full one. Sunset Fireflies, correct. Orange Man taking a 2nd point. Oh, Dark was so close to taking it. Bobby Kilu just behind as well. Thank you, everybody, for your answers. I really love, like, when you mentioned, like, Kakariko is a little bit, different. I like it more in Breath of the Wild being, like, a very Sheikah culture town. I feel like that fits it way better.
I wanted so much more Sheikah stuff in earlier games. I'm glad, like, for as much as, like, we only got so much story, I feel like that makes up for it. Like, oh, these people actually, like, exist out in the open now. This is cool.
They're just hanging out. There's just, there's people living their lives, doing farming and talking to each other. There's little Sheikahs who cook. What's her name? Kiko? Something like that.
Names were always my weak point.
It's a 4-letter name, and she has like a long quest line.
She's adorable.
No, not Papaya. Everybody likes Papaya. Not Papaya, just Paya. Why
Paya.
I got tricked by Papaya. I'm going to lose a point for that one. All right, everybody, keep your theories coming in. After this next song, it's time to read them out on the air. So stay here in the chat, and we'll be back with more Hyrule Academy. Welcome back, one and all, to Hyrule Academy. Whew. We've been having some excellent music tonight. That was Death Mountain, the Family Jewels version, from Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda, a game name that only Nintendo could publish, honestly. It really makes you go, wow, that is the official name of the game, isn't it? Cadence.
The only thing that could make it better is if they had released said game on the new Nintendo 3DS.
You're right. If it came out on the new Nintendo 3DS XL exclusively. And they called it New Cadence, or no, Cadence of Hyrule, New Crypt of the Dance Necrodancer featuring The Legend of Zelda and Knuckles. Thank you all for joining us today. We've had a wonderful episode so far, and now we're going to get really into the meat of it with your thoughts and discussions you've been having in the chat. So, Trina, the first thing I have for us here is a few thoughts about what Calamity Ganon is, the true form. Relius said, I thought Ganondorf is not dead, and the malice is coming out of him and corrupting everything. And that kind of ties in what Cursibu said. Maybe Calamity Ganon is just Ganondorf's evil parts seeping out of him that aren't sealed with his Gerudo body. And I feel like that is the most plausible theory than what we've seen in the past. Because we didn't really know where Calamity Ganon came from until possibly this sequel to Breath of the Wild trailer, where we see a very presumably Ganondorf corpse leaking out what appears to be malice. Yeah, do you subscribe to this theory, Trina?
I think so, yeah.
I think it feels right. And, you know, Haplapalon went on to say, I think malice is like a projection of Ganon's spirit. It does look like the Wind Waker opening, though, so maybe he did it there. So saying that this like cloud spirit type of like, this is maybe a way for Ganon to try to escape.
Oh yeah, no, I'd buy that after 10,000 years he learns the art of astral projection, as it were.
But instead of, you know, astral projection where it's like beautiful light and stars and Doctor Strange separating it from his body, it's just goop. big purple goop. So I feel that too. I think that's very strong. Cursibu said, what about the puffs of purple smoke when you defeat enemies in the Wind Waker and others? Is that malice? What do you think of that, Trina? I saw you pop off in the chat.
I liked that one. Yeah, because like, I mean, this isn't, whatever malice is, like, I don't think it's anything new for Ganon per se. I think it's just a stronger version of what he already had. And yeah, I mean, the creatures you fight in other games apparently are magically made because they don't just leave bodies, they poof away. So I buy that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that too. I've always enjoyed the idea. I actually watched a couple of episodes of the Zelda cartoon last night with Campy and friends, and in it, Ganon had, you know, obviously this is non-canon information, please, asterisk, but Ganon has this big evil jar where he stores all of his monsters and stuff, and he pulls out of it, and I was like, is that kind of like what Calamity Ganon does? Does Calamity Ganon just like pull from this like source? And maybe in the canon, the evil jar is not literally an evil jar of monsters. It's more of a source of eternal evil that he has within him that he's able to regenerate and put stuff out there. And maybe when you defeat Ganon, quote unquote, you're essentially properly plugging up, or just like in plumbing terms, you're fixing the leak.
Correct.
I think that might be how you define it, is that, and instead of, I really like the idea that Ganon and this extends to Calamity Ganon, it's less just a dude, but more of the curse of demise is kind of like baked into the universe. Ooh. And so when you kill Ganon, you're just putting some flex tape over it. You know what I'm saying? Over the hole in the universe? Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it makes a man, sometimes it makes a goop monster. Huh. Okay, I'm getting into my own world here. Limbert Heel says, I feel Calamity Ganon doesn't really have a true form so much as he's just an incarnation of pure hatred evil. That kind of goes on what I was saying, I think, a little bit, that but the question is, do you think, okay, Trina, here, I'll pose it to you like this. Is Calamity Ganon different than Ganondorf, the man, in terms of like source? Like, does Calamity Ganon, is he born like from Demise's curse the same way Ganondorf is, or are they one and the same?
Man, I don't know.
It's a little bit weird because I kind of don't think that. I feel like it is different because what we did like to establish there is that Ganondorf is the hole in the plumbing, so to speak, and he is able to manifest that malice and darkness.
Right. Like, again, this is something I feel like in game text gives us mixed messages on, because like Zelda at one point has the line like, Ganon was born out of a dark past. He is a pure embodiment of the ancient evil that is reborn time and time again. So that you're just like, oh, maybe it's not actually Ganondorf. But then I think, okay, I found this. Text jumps don't always tell you where stuff is from, right?
Right.
This was apparent, like, this is from Urbosa, just based on context. I think it's a journal entry. I don't know where you find it. But she says it was written that Calamity Ganon once adopted the form of a Gerudo. Which actually, now that I looked at it, I did not notice the word adopted before. That actually does sound like they are establishing like Calamity Ganon existed before Ganondorf. And that's just like
how he came to be.
Yes.
And so the question is, how much does Urbosa know, like, in reality? You know, is she just operating on is she operating on theory? Is she a Zelda theorist as well at this point? And
I think if anyone was gonna like hold on to that knowledge over the years, it would be the group. Like that was part of their history. They don't like, obviously, but like a part of their history.
Right, and it's that's really interesting because, you know, Calamity Ganon adopted the form of a Gerudo. That's interesting to me because maybe Calamity Ganon itself is just a substitute for the Curse of Demise. Like they're interchangeable in terms of like their known history.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell like what they intend to be interchangeable, what's like an evolution from one to the other, what like
it gets all gobbledygook. Monica kind of backs up what we're saying here by saying, I think Calamity Ganon's true form is kind of a dark energy, like the crystals of malice, but capable of spawning enemies based on out of his need to emit power. There's just so much darkness that it pools in areas and brings things to life, kind of like Horcruxes. I also definitely think Ganon went the route of pure energy because it's not as fragile as a humanoid form, and he could get around easier and send his big hate energy to other places. Why do we see those little eyeballs that are doing his bidding and spawning weak enemies to try? I really pasted in the middle sentence.
Oops.
The idea is, and Haplapalon also I came up with the idea that those eyeballs that come out of the malice and like the divine beast and stuff, they're able to actually see for Ganon. Like Ganon's actually seeing you there through that. And I really like that idea that this pure energy that he is able to exist as right now, that this is just a choice of Ganon's at the moment, because possibly he is sealed underneath Hyrule Castle and still unable to be, you know, freed. And so this is his way of trying to do his bidding because he literally cannot take another form.
No one provided a ladder for him to climb out, so he's working with what he's got.
He doesn't have a ladder, and also he seems to have some sort of green hand stuck in his chest or something.
There is that.
There's that. It's a minor thing. It's not a big deal. He could take it off anytime he wants to. Lele kind of asked an interesting question. In Skyward Sword, you know the evil crystals? What are those? And I really like the idea that those are like early malice. Including Haplapalon said maybe the evil crystals are a leftover from Demise's initial attack in the backstory of Skyward Sword. Maybe Calamity Ganon is Demise's normal form, and Skyloft had to be made because the surface got gooped. And so maybe the goop like rescinded over time or something. Do you have any thoughts that the surface got gooped?
I mean, like oh shoot, which war was that? This is the 5 years. I don't remember what name goes with what war, but the Hylia versus Demise war. Like, I'm sure the land wasn't in good shape after that. Like, even aside from I'm evacuating the people, like, just so Demise can't reach them. But Yeah, no, there was world's worst acid rain. That's a good way to put it.
World's worst acid rain. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Thank you, Limp, in the chat. Huh. Well, I have some thoughts that I want to kind of pull together here during our next song, and maybe you can do so as well, Trina, and we'll come to some conclusions during the next segment. Sound good?
Yes.
All right, we'll be back, everybody, with more Hyrule Academy. All right, everybody, you just listened to the Age of Calamity main theme. That's a cover by Nico Mendoza featuring Nathan. Oh, I didn't pronounce the name beforehand. Banegas. Not even gonna try. I'm gonna spell it to you. It was on screen. Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much for that song, by the way. I thought having a little bit of Age of Calamity would fit in well, obviously, because Calamity Ganon is so present in that game. Although the canonical powers of that is it's mysterious, and I didn't want to get too far into Age of Calamity because I feel like we can have a whole episode just about like there's so much in Age of Calamity. There's so much.
I mean, it involves time travel. It's canonical on a fourth timeline.
Yes, it is, and you know it's interesting to me because I really love Age of Calamity, and I believe that its story is canon. It's just an alternate reality. I mean, with that thinking, we can really stretch our lore imaginations, right? So, to wrap up today's episode, Trina, we have a few thoughts to bring up. The first thing I kind of wrote down is that we kind of came to the conclusion that Ganondorf, underneath Hyrule Castle, we've seen the Breath of the Wild sequel trailer, is leaking out malice and he's trying to escape, kind of like an astral projection. Is that pretty much where you've landed too?
I don't know if Ganondorf's if I would call him Ganondorf with Ganondorf's mind, but at least the physical form that was once Ganondorf is underneath. Yes.
Okay, so you don't think that that's necessarily he is intentionally doing that, or is it just kind of?
I don't know that Ganondorf as the brain of Ganondorf exists anymore. I did want to mention Babu Kilu said this thing right as we were switching into the music. Said, what if the curse of demise at one point latched onto a normal person, aka Ganondorf, and now it remembers his form? So
Ooh.
This I would say it looks like Ganondorf, but maybe the brain that is Ganondorf disappeared thousands and thousands of years ago, and we're just running on demise malice autopilot now. I mean, not autopilot. There's a brain, it has intent. It is just not Ganondorf.
Okay, so if we see a Ganondorf, perhaps it is literally just the malice kind of when maybe Breath of the Wild sequel starts out with him kind of slurping up the malice smoothie.
I figured it out. It's Ganondorf's body is the dress that Malice decided it liked.
In Hytopia.
Yes!
The Malice outfit is Ganondorf. Interesting. So this Malice, this dark energy that we've seen, we came to some ideas that it's been seen in other places, like when you defeat enemies in all the games, but especially in Wind Waker when they poof into purple smoke. Perhaps that's an example of us seeing this Malice power that Ganondorf or Demise is able to put out into the world. We also mentioned the evil crystals in Skyward Sword, which may be a clue to Demise also being Malice in form, truly. But I want to know what you think of. Do you think that this Malice power is something that Ganon has always had, or is it just a side effect? That kind of goes back to what we were saying just a second ago.
Yeah, no, I think it's something he's always had. I think it's the core magic he has always wielded. It's just a stronger, more intense version in this game.
Because you said it very early on, 10,000 years to marinate it.
Yes.
And I really like that. I really like that it's been 10,000 years of a stabbed Ganondorf corpse able just to take all that malice within him and bake it for 10,000 years, and able to use that to, like, you know, do things like take over the Guardians, take over the Divine Beasts, something that he wasn't able to do perhaps 10,000 years ago. That's really interesting. And I think that what we're going to see in Breath of the Wild sequel is what I mentioned earlier was the attempt to flex tape the Ganon malice hole, because I think that what we see in the trailer is Link and Zelda being like, hey, okay, we defeated Calamity Ganon, but we're still seeing malice come out and leak out. What's going on here? It's obviously not enough for us to be concerned about, but like, what's going on?
We wiped up the big puddle on the kitchen floor, but we're still hearing drips.
Yes. Like we left our house for a weekend and there was a leak, and it's like there's water everywhere. We cleaned it up, but it's still leaking. we gotta flex tape it. But it looks like there might be a little bit more to the story in that we go to flex tape it, but maybe the flex tape fights back. I'm gonna stop talking about flex tape. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on this episode of Hyrule Academy, and thank you, Trina, for joining us. I hope you had a very fun time.
Oh, I loved it. My pleasure.
Reminder to everybody to tune in next month. I've written down June 5th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I believe that's going to be our time. I believe we're doing the first weekend of every month. So June 5th at 6:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Next month's topic, I wrote down Darunia. I don't think we've had an episode talking about the big Goron man himself, have we?
I would have to check my notes.
I really don't think we have. So next month is going to be Darunia. If you'd like to share some thoughts with me on the show, feel free to tweet at me with @SuperMCGamer on Twitter. Trina, your tag on Twitter is Captain_Trina, right?
Correct.
And a big thank you to Eric Buckles for use of the Hyrule Academy theme music that you can hear in the background right now. And thank you all in the chat for your inputs, for your wonderful theories, and for making us all think of Ganondorf donning a dress in Hytopia, because I love that thought. That's wonderful. And thank you again, Trina, for being here. Do you think that we are back in action? Do you think Hyrule Academy has a shot here in the year 2021?
I think we're hitting the ground running. Let's go.
Because when we ended the show last time, Breath of the Wild wasn't even out, which is crazy. Which is why I wanted to do a Calamity Ganon episode to start, because we just did not have Breath of the Wild. It's nuts to think about. Everybody, to end off today's episode, to end off today's session, we have the last song, Calamity Ganon Battle, second form from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Trina, for being here. And we will be back with you in 1 month. And be sure to follow and subscribe to the Zeldathon channel. Thank you for hosting us, Zeldathon team. Appreciate you as always. And we'll talk to you all later. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.